Hey, we're recording.
Hey.
Helps if you don't lock the fucking thing, doesn't it?
Well, probably.
That'll make some nice sound. Wow, we're peaking like fuck.
Well, that's probably because you were jangling your keys there.
I was not. No, we're just peaking when we talk. Speak.
Hello, everybody.
Mild racism.
How's that racism?
Nah, probably.
Hello, everybody.
Mild stutticism.
There you go.
There we
I
go.
I think I do have a start, to be honest.
Oh.
Lovely.
Yeah. Start with a fart last
Should we
week.
introduce ourselves before you start burping?
I think we've already done that.
Well, anyway, this is the Studio 2 podcast with Ryan.
I'm the other one.
People ask me why I dislike humans.
Why do you dislike humans?
Don't go on, because I'll go into a tangent and a rant, and then we're off in God knows where.
I was going to say, to be fair, how much have you actually got to speak about today?
I've got a big subject that can spawn off multiple questions.
Oh dear.
It's not like, I don't know if you'll be very interested about it, but regarding this... No.
I don't know if it'll be that good.
Regarding the scene you're doing for your essay, I think you might be interested, and you might be able to talk about a few of your own films that you like, in a certain genre.
I need to sort out this.
Ooh,
Baby. I think they're going to peak just randomly. This one might be dog fucking awful.
well, we can recreate that.
Well, mine's relatively light-hearted, so we'll go through yours if it's a bit boring, because mine's exceptionally boring.
Let's start with yours, do mine in the middle.
We'll start with a bang.
Finish off
Go
with
on, I think
boring.
we should start with you.
Fine. Well, the other
Right.
day... Oh, for fuck's
Right.
sake. So we're peeking in...
Ow!
For people listening, he just...
Fired salt in my eye. Oh, it's not my fucking day today.
Anyway. Stop trying to do it.
Ow! Why isn't this working?
Stop. Might as well just start again. Alright.
Start with a hiss.
Stop the packet. Right, so my first subject was, obviously I was away this weekend.
Where were you last
I was
week?
with my girlfriends. And we watched, basically we got this subscription thing on Amazon, which is, it's called like...
Amazon Prime?
No, it's like a spin-off. It's like a separate thing to Amazon Prime where it's Amazon Prime Video and you get a certain amount of horror films free whilst you're subscribing.
Still got salt in my eye, so I'm just going to keep looking at you.
I can see, yeah. And so you get a certain amount of horror films free, and one, which I've got to talk about, is obviously The Burning. I'll talk about that in a minute.
Burning.
The Burning. No, honestly, it's exactly as I'm saying it. The Burning. Anyway, the second one is something called The Canal.
Haven't started doing the time thing.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
It's fine, it'll be cool, don't matter.
I have work after this.
Yeah, well.
Right. So.
I'll say we've been on for 5 minutes and 43 seconds.
No, I wouldn't say 5, that's about 3 minutes.
Fucking hell, just talk about The Burning.
No,
Stall,
the Burning
no one will
was
notice,
The
it's
Burning
fine.
was a tangent that I'll go into later if I have time. But the film I'm here to talk about is The Canal. Have you ever watched it?
No, I was going to do a drum roll. No, I haven't.
You haven't watched The Canal? Right. It's a horror film where if you look on Rotten Tomatoes or if you look on IMDb, it doesn't seem to have good ratings, yet people seem to review it quite well. So my theory is that when it first came out...
so bad it's good.
No, when it first came out, I'm imagining people, because it was such a slow burn, and it's a pretty slow film. They only get to the horror-y, disturbing-y part sort of 3/4 of the way through. The rest of it's sort of standard horror type stuff. Very little jump scares though, which is good. It doesn't rely on them. I think that's one jump scare in the entire thing, and it's really easy to see coming.
So I'm gonna jump now.
I'm guessing it was one of those things, but because it was such a slow burn, and not many people got it. People just sort of like just marked it down, and now that people watch it as they find it, they just sort of review it a bit better. Well, at least that's how I think anyway. I watched it, and it's a mix of two genres, and it's a mix of like the paranormal and psychological.
Yeah.
And it blends the two really well, because you think, oh, it's psychological as soon as it starts, and you see something about to happen.
Yeah.
You can go home and watch this, or I can tell you what happens. It's either your choice. I would recommend
won't
watching
watch it. But in case someone in our audience wants to watch it, let's not spoil it.
Okay. Or two people in our audience. and then it keeps switching between. You think, oh, it's paranormal, then it's psychological, then it's got some weird other stuff in it, and it's a good film. It's a slow burn, but an excellent film. And I see you have a video ready, and I'm wondering
Is that the canal you were talking about?
Yeah.
So, in a brief overview, what's the canal about?
It's about a
Because
man.
I've got to be honest, I'm thinking riverboats, and that's not that scary.
No.
Probably canal
It's a man
boats, not
who,
riverboats.
okay, standard horror trope. He moves into a new house with his pregnant wife.
In a world
Right.
where a man moves into a new house with his pregnant wife.
That's not. And then it skips to 5 years later.
5 years later.
And he suspects his wife of cheating.
Oh, what the fuck?
And he knows that his house has a crime happened at his house where a husband killed a wife. So,
Well, it already
but
worked
from
once.
there, it looks like a blatant Sinister rip-off because he moves into a new house and he's a film archivist, so he has this old footage of crimes and stuff that he's going through, and it seemed to me exactly the same as Sinister, but it's really not, and I really recommend you giving it a chance.
Why is it called the canal if it doesn't actually...
Because the canal's a setting where all these crimes are sort of crossed over. And so while he's archiving the footage, he realises that, and he realises that his house is sort of like central around it. And it's like a perfect mix of two different genres, and the ending is really good to it. And I won't spoil it, but I love. It's not a twist ending, but I love endings where you go, oh, and it all matches up and fits together nicely. And there's not like one character or one
Out of
scene.
5, what would you rate the canal?
Out of 5.
5. Alright, out of 3.
10. Out of 10.
3.
10's a better one.
Bad shit good.
Bad shit good.
Do you know what I meant?
No. Do you mean bad?
Shit
okay,
bad good.
Do you mean bad? Okay, good.
You know what I fucking mean. Just
Good. If I was to put it out of
Alright,
10
so
like
out
a
of
normal
5.
person, not out of 5, at 10 like a normal person,
5.
solid 7.5.
Okay, so how does that translate into a 5? I've just seen Who's Outside. I can guarantee we're going to get interrupted.
By who?
Ooh, our main rivals in the podcast scene.
Well, he means people from my class. Anyway,
What was the other film you wanted to talk about?
I didn't. Oh God, not The Burning.
The Burning.
The next was The Burning, and I don't know how I missed this. So you know me, and I'm a big fan of the 80s sort of slasher horror flicks.
Yeah.
That are really crap, and I only like them purely because they're great to just watch.
Well, you were speaking about this briefly earlier, and so I've looked at the trailer because I think it sounds fantastic.
It's okay.
So
Can I give you a brief overview
Go
of
on.
what I'm going to describe it as? It's Friday the 13th with a slightly different killer and a slightly different backstory.
Jeez.
But please watch the trailer.
So I think what I'm going to try and do here is maybe like I'm going to play the trailer and we're going to get some live reactions, and if I can, I might put it over the video.
Yeah, I was going to say try to sync the audio with it.
If not, I'll link it in the description. But yeah, hopefully
I suppose you could put the trailer in the edit and just cancel out the audio for this part. Although you missed
I
the
could
action.
do, but it's going to be fucking hard to do.
Yeah, no.
So hopefully my phone doesn't stutter and die because I've got 5 bars of signal, which means it doesn't work. But this is the
wonderful.
Burning.
No, it's The Burning.
Burning is better. So there's people on boats.
Yeah, Friday the 13th.
Oh my god. It's Edward Scissorhands. I think he's just cutting the grass, that's all. Just have sex with your girlfriend in the middle of the car park, that'll be fine.
I love the narration to this video.
Isn't that exact scene in Friday the 13th?
That exact campfire scene where they're all talking about Jason is
Yeah,
in Friday the
I was
13th
gonna
part
say.
2 and part 1, I do believe.
Jason. That's a little film.
Wait until the title card.
Jesus Christ!
Just wait until the title card.
Even
please.
the boat I'm sat there thinking
I
it's the
know.
same.
Just wait. It's exactly. Right, I've got a few interesting.
Oh, that's the best effects I've ever
I've
seen.
got a few interesting facts for you. One, that came out a year later than Friday the 13th Part 1.
Well, I wonder why.
So Jason wasn't even in it at that point, but they got this male killer who uses, I guess,
I will say, if I haven't
Cheers.
managed to put that in, the shot of the fucking boat is
is
almost
exactly
identical
the
to the
same
end
as
of the
end
first
shot of
film.
yeah. And the
Jeez.
end shot, I do believe, of the second one or third one as well. But it's got amazing if you go onto IMDb and you look at the people
I
that are
saw. I
reviewing
typed
it,
it in, and the majority
I
of
think
things
it's
are just
7s,
reviews.
8s, 10s, 9s. They say it's better than Friday the 13th. And it's...
Have you watched it?
No, but I'm going to. I think
Right,
this
next
weekend,
week I want feedback on The Burning.
I'm going to give you feedback on... Wait, not The Burning, but...
The Burning.
It is. It looks so crappy 80s B movie that I just can't wait to watch it.
Oh, right, well, since you're going to talk about crappy horror films, I want to bring up my all-time favourite horror film of any, like...
I feel like I know what you're going to say because of what I've been doing in class, but I don't think it's that.
No,
It's not
it's
that.
much better than
So
Christine.
the film he's doing in class is Christine, but it's not that.
It's not really a horror film. The
It's the same
best film I've... Just in general, I think. It's called The Sand.
Oh no, not this fucking
No.
thing again.
No, The Sand... Right.
Is that the one with the tentacles and the guy on the beach?
Yes.
Oh, here we go.
There is a video of me watching this, because I watched it with my dad, and we weren't actually drunk, which is, like, rare. It's like,
Classic.
normally you get a bit, like, tipsy or whatever, you watch a film, it's a good laugh, I'd recommend
It's good
it.
to watch B movies when you're a little
Just
bit
watch
stoned.
shit, go on the horror channel, that's where we found this. Go on the horror channel
There's
when you're a little bit
actually
tipsy,
a
and
great
it's the best
B
thing
movie
you
I
can
watched a
do.
while ago, where it's zombies mixed with some really outrageous sexual humour, and I can't
Oh,
remember
there's
what it's called.
something like Nuns with Guns, I've seen that.
No, he has to kill his massive zombie mum at the end, and I think he gets swallowed back inside where he came out of.
Right, so if I can, I'll try and include this clip, but I'd like to show Ryan. I think I've already shown you. You've got my amazing laugh.
Yeah.
So for context there, just to sort of spoil a little bit, basically the premise of The Sand is that there's a load of people, they've had a bit of a wild night, they all wake up conveniently not on the sand, and the sand has become alive, and if you touch the sand's going to eat you.
Which makes no sense in the laws of physics, science,
I'm not
or
sure if it's
anything
ever
else.
actually explained why. I think it's aliens. Probably aliens. It's got Mitchell Musso, floppy hair guy from Hannah Montana.
Oh,
He's in
God.
it. It's literally my favourite film. I'm not even taking the piss
You
when I
should
say
have done
that.
that film for UFC
It
analysis.
really is. It's one of the not people going about so bad it's good. Genuinely, I love that film. There is a special place in my heart for how fucking amazing that film is. Because I've never been so happy watching a film in my life.
To be fair, me and my dad both have a film that we judge all other horror films on.
Yeah.
And it's because he's not a fan of horror. He thinks it's dumb, which to each their
It's
own.
predictable,
Sometimes
I
it
think,
is,
yeah.
Sometimes you get really stupid horror films like Drag Me to Hell, which is just
Yeah.
terrible, and The Bye-Bye Man, which is oh god, I tried to watch that. Anyway,
Too spooky.
it's called Area 51, or it's either called Area 51 or just 51.
Fuck
And
that film.
it literally, we both watched it, and I can't do a facial expression because I'm not filming. But if you look at me, he literally sat there and just went, I was like, "What is this?" And I was like, "I don't know." I thought it was going to be some really cool thing where these journalists enter Area 51 and they're allowed like access to areas. Then these things break out, and I thought, "Oh, it's going to be a cool little alien flick," but it's not. It's the most boring, uppity, arsey piece of crap I've ever watched.
So I watched.
But I know I can never make anything better, and that really annoys me.
So I watched over Halloween. I can't remember the name of the
Original
film.
or the
No, over Halloween I was watching a film. And I can't remember what it was called. It was on Netflix, and if I remember what it's called, then I'll
It's
put
not
it in.
Babysitter, is it?
No, it was better than that.
I do actually have a new favourite horror comedy that's not Scream, but Scream still holds a special place in my heart.
I think it was like I've got The Gallows or something like that made, but that doesn't make sense for what it would be about.
What's it about? 'Cause I
It's
think I know what it
about
might
a
be.
load of teenagers on the council estate.
Keep going.
I think it's set in Birmingham. It's sort of hinted at. I don't think they ever actually say we live in Birmingham. I think it's supposed to be like London.
Has it got Nick Frost in it?
No.
I was going to say I thought it was Attack the Block then.
No. Basically, there's this old like abandoned factory thing,
Right.
and I can't remember it. But it was one of them films. I was watching it, and it was just bad. And it's not a good film by any stretch of the imagination.
Right.
It's shot. It's really clunky. But it's the thing of I'm watching it, going, "This is shit." And at the end of the film, I sort of had this thing where I'm like, if I'd have made that, I'd be really proud of it.
But it's
crap.
complete
Like it's B-movie brilliant, but like
there are some really great B movies.
it's just like you watch it and the acting and there's some massive leaps in like logic to get to some bits, and you're just like, it's just. See, the only bit I can really remember is a massive spoiler for it. But I don't want to spoil a film that I can't remember the name of. But it's just so fucking wonderful.
So this is why I wanted to talk about horror, because anything can come of horror. You can get really good films, you can get really shit films. I want to bring one of each.
I feel like this is going to be quite a filmy podcast.
Well, it's good because, media...
Well, as we keep saying, we're media students, so...
So a great British horror film, which I recommend, I think every horror fan has either seen this already or I'm telling them to see it now.
Yeah.
The Descent. Have you not seen it?
No.
It is British horror.
Yeah.
So it's
that's a good start. I like
full
British
cast
horror.
of, I think mainly English. I think there might be one American and one Irish. And I think apart from that, I don't know if there's an American.
Resisting
Either way,
the urge to
it's
do an
all
Irish accent.
British and Irish.
Sweet.
And they're all a group of women. So it's a group of women who, it's hinted at that they were all close friends at one point.
Is this the thing that's in the cave?
Yeah.
Yes, I have seen this.
Brilliant film.
Yeah.
I love that film to pieces because most films you get in caves are shot where it's shaky and it's claustrophobic in the wrong way.
Yeah.
This is just
sort of
cool.
forced.
And there's a great scene that I always love, and it's where she falls into the pool of water and then she rises up and she's got the crap on her and the blood, and it's just a pool of bloody water and stuff. And it's where she rises up, and I should have done that for my fucking scene analysis, and now I'm kicking myself because Tron. That's what I'm doing. Anyway, I want to talk about that.
I think it's one of them things where once you start analysing a scene, whatever it is, it's suddenly the worst thing in the world.
But there's that one, and then there's another one I watched. I can't remember the bad one I was going to bring up.
There's very few bad films, I feel, in my head, bad film is a film that's...
It's a film that I've stopped watching.
It's a triple... Yeah, I think normally it's a AAA film that I think you'd...
Like Ouija?
Wasting... Oh, no.
Have you ever watched Ouija?
No, but...
Fuck my life.
I think I told this story in one of the podcast... I think one of the pilots, rather. My dad wanted to watch Ouija.
The only one that's gone on YouTube.
Because he'd... possibly... Having a bit of trouble with
BTS.
The podcasts at the moment. They're not quite going up properly, but I'm working on it, okay?
Time that's... let's not talk about that.
They're just being a fucking arsehole.
Carry on.
The pilot's gone up. Episode 1 should be up soon.
That's alright. Once we get into a steady rhythm.
They're all edited. It's just I can't do them. But yeah. See, now I forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah, my dad wanted to watch Ouija, and I'd said to him it's not the best film. And he's like, "Oh no," and it's like, I just fancy watching it. I think he'd seen a video or something.
I do get that.
It looked okay, and I sort of thought, yeah, fuck it. So we sat down to watch the Ouija Experiment.
That's the wrong film. That's even worse.
It is.
That's abysmal.
That's a film. This is why I like watching films with my dad, because me and my dad have got we're very similar.
You do seem, yeah.
It's a case of. Oh, God. The ending of the Ouija Experiment, right? To spoil this, so if you desperately want to watch the Ouija Experiment without spoilers, which I'd recommend, is...
Netflix film I can bring it back to.
I can't remember what happened. Oh, there's a big kerfuffle in the house. Because
this is on Netflix, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that's how I watched it.
It gets sort of... The camera goes a bit dead, and then someone picks it up and walks... I think they're... No, they start off, they're walking around. So the friends are dead. And like some of the friends are dead, some of them are looking after him, and they're walking through, and it's like, oh my god, and everyone's just sort of like ignoring this bloke, and he's like, yo, what the fuck? And then he just casually walks into the bathroom, which a bloke who is you're supposed to think is a paedophile, and it turns out he's not actually a paedophile, but he's kind of a paedophile.
Right.
Yeah. It's brilliant. Just fucking watch it. He walks into this room with the paedophile man who's not a paedophile and this little girl, and they're holding hands.
Yeah.
And they gesture over to the mirror. Gesture over to the mirror. So he turns to the mirror and there's a floating camera, and it's the best fucking thing, because like the idea being this guy's dead, but he's still filming it, and it's like, oh my god, it's fucking like, I swear you can see the fishing line. It's my favourite thing in the world. It was another one of them sand moments where I've never laughed. I mean, you watch that video, you can hear it in my voice. You know what my laugh's like. That's my wheezy old laugh when I've been laughing so much my throat's fucked. Genuinely, I have never laughed so hard. It was my favourite thing.
See, I've got a Netflix film to bring up. I think I've got a few, actually.
The thing with that, we watched that, and it was awful. And then the next day, we realised there's a Ouija Experiment 2. And you think,
is there?
Yes. The first film is awful, but it was awful in such a way that it was fantastic.
So you want to watch the
So we desperately wanted to watch the second one. The second one starts off with a screening of the first film. And it's got the actors on stage, and the actors are talking about the thing in the film. And it's the director of the film is in the film talking about his film, which was the first film.
Right.
And so I'm sat there going, this has got the potential to be really fucking cool.
Yeah.
And I'm sat there going, please don't screw this up. Like, part of me wants it to be bad because it's funny. But I was sat there going, you've got
That sounds like the kind of film...
the gold mine here of having a shit film come out, and then you've got the sort of thing of, this film could be fucking amazing, and it's based off of that one being a film. And it's not. It just sort of goes into that. See, the second film is bad without being funny.
Ooh.
That's the problem. It's just sort of bad.
Oh, God, I've got so many horror films. So I'm a big horror fan, so I can't help but talk about them. Did you watch Happy Death Day?
I did not.
This is one that I constantly go on about, and you will get annoyed at me eventually for it.
I'll watch it eventually.
It's the perfect blend of horror and comedy to the point where you just go, I could just watch this as like any film, it's like a good mix of genres.
If there's rustling, I've taken my jacket
But
off.
I always get annoyed because there's one glaring plot hole in it that even regular people, not students who are like picking apart films constantly, can spot.
Yeah.
So there's this card in the film, and I will spoil this because it's specifically what I'm talking about.
What's
and
this?
you'll spot this straight away too.
The
Happy Death Day.
Happy Death Day. Okay.
In the film,
Spoilers for Happy Death Day.
Yeah. In the film, there's a card that says, "Enjoy." It's something like, "Enjoy your birthday. Enjoy this day, like because it could be your last." Or something.
Yes.
And then there's a picture of the mask, or she finds the mask underneath that the killer uses. Later on, during a montage of her, it's like Groundhog Day. So during a montage of her living out these days, trying to find out the killer through different trial and error experiments, which is it's a good plot. She discovers that her friend, who's like the head of the sorority, was carrying the card in a bag and put it in her room. So you go, oh shit, her friend's involved with it. Maybe it's like a group of them, or maybe that person's in charge of whoever's doing it. She tackles that friend to the ground in this hilarious montage, and she fights her. Nothing. The killer isn't her. Nothing comes of that. So this card that had this ominous message for her that was delivered by a friend, who, I guess, nothing comes of it. And it annoys me, because at the end I was expecting there to be some closure, like maybe that there was some people in it together.
Yeah.
Maybe she tasked someone with doing it. No, nothing comes of that scene. And it really annoys me, because why would, apart from the funny fight, why would you do it?
And so, sort of
But I love the
away.
film in all other regards, apart from that.
Is it a film that's just sort of let down by its ending?
No, the ending's actually really good, because you think it ends a certain way, and it doesn't, because it keeps going for about 20 more minutes. Literally, I thought it ended in the cinema, and I went to India and I went, oh, that's really short. And I went to get up, and she woke up again, and I went, oh. So I sit back down. Sat back down.
Sit and watch the credits.
I tend not to watch
have
the
worked
credits
as
of
hard
films,
as they can. Why?
because there's never anything at the end of them.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
I love scenes at the end of credits. No, sometimes if it's packed cinema, I'll stay until the end because I don't want to leave when everyone else is.
Sort of steering away from horror films as such.
Okay.
I watched Patriots Day.
Is that the one with No.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg. That was it.
Based
the Boston
on the
Marathon, isn't
the
it?
Boston Marathon attack.
I did see the advert for that. I was interested. I never watched it.
There's another thing that came on Netflix, and just do this thing. If it looks decent, I'll stick it on my list, and then just when I fancy doing it, I just swipe through, and you stop on a random thing. You're like, fuck it, I'll watch that. So started watching it, and it's a good film. I will stress, like I'm going to pick parts in it, but it is quite a good film. The issue I have, there's two things with it that I feel a bit iffy about. The first one is it uses real footage. So you've got CCTV footage.
Do they use it in a way that's respectful of what the incident was?
It's not disrespectful. So, for example, there's a part of it is there's a guy that sort of they steal his car and take him with the car.
Right.
So he's sort of kept hostage. And which genuinely happened, he then, they pull up for gas. One of the guys goes in to go and get snacks and things like that, and the other guy's just sort of watching him. And so the guy that's now been kept hostage made a run for it and got away. And they used genuine CCTV footage of the guy running into the petrol station and like running behind the till and cowering, which you think there's nothing inherently wrong with it because it's not like some guy getting shot. But then you sit there and it sort of feels a bit wrong to be watching. And I don't know for certain. I'm relatively sure because they've got CCTV grabs of the bombers when they're trying to find them, and I'm relatively sure. I know one of the actors is a pretty good match. They do look very similar. The other one not so. They don't look anything like each other, which makes me think that it is real footage. But like I think with that, you've got footage which was all over the news, so it's not like it's anything that no
It's
one's
in
ever
the public
seen.
domain somewhere.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
But it just feels weird when you're sort of doing this whole action. Well, that's the other thing.
My argument for that. Carry on. Sorry.
No, go on.
My argument for that would be people who didn't know that was CCTV would be watching it thinking, well, this is a really cool way to shoot the film, not knowing that that could be real footage of someone possibly getting killed.
See, that's why I think
running away
it's
from their
wrong.
life.
There's a shot of when the bomb goes off, and
Yeah.
obviously you're not seeing anyone get hurt, but you're watching the bomber walk away. And I think, again, that was footage that was shown on the news, and it just feels a bit wrong.
Yeah.
Knowing sort of the backstory behind it, and knowing what's going on just slightly to the left of the screen.
The grief is being used for entertainment, but not really, because
it's the thing of,
they're
again,
not trying to make fun of it, they're trying to
that's the thing with it.
do it in a serious manner.
And it is a really good film, again. Like, it's respectful, and it shows
I'm gonna talk about him
how
in a minute,
good it was.
Yeah.
And gives you a bit of behind the scenes of, there's a bit, the mayor doesn't want to release the, like, photos of the bombers, because they don't want the bombers to know they're onto them yet. And then it discovers that someone's leaked it to the papers, and I think Fox News or something, they get a message saying we're going to go live with the story in 20 minutes, and so they're then forced to go live with it, which happened. And so it's quite interesting to find out some of the behind the scenes things with it. But there's also a scene which I looked it up. There's not much about it, obviously, but when they sort of worked out where the bombers were and they were driving this car, they then send a police car down. They've got a lookout for it, and one of them follows it because they think they've got him. Another guy's then coming down to support it. They turn down the road. The one guy gets out and drives off. The other guy, I think, is following him in the car at that point. But they then have a shootout with the police. And the shootout goes on for about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
By the end of it, they're firing like bombs, like they're throwing explosives at the place, which again, I'm not sure if that actually happened.
I think... So
I know there was a shootout.
The firefight happened.
And I think there was explosives being thrown.
Yeah. Explosives might have been.
I seem to remember hearing something about that. I don't know if that's just me adding things onto my memory.
I think the Boston bombings was at a time where I didn't quite research into it because it wasn't as common a thing. Well, now every attack that happens, I always research into it because it's
weird.
Well, it's common.
But yeah, like this scene goes on for about 10 minutes, which it's a gunfight, whatever. People like to watch gunfights.
Yeah.
But it feels wrong. When, like, the whole film, it's quite, like I say, it's respectful and it's based in reality of how, like, that each character is affected by the attack. So there's a scene with Mark Wahlberg's character and his wife where he breaks down because he'd asked his wife to come to the marathon, and it's a real sort of, it's not anything there, but you get a bit more of the emotion, and then it feels a bit tacked on that you've got this high octane action scene in the middle of it, and I think, but it's a real story, and you're left thinking, was it that exciting?
Does it feel to you how you imagine people watching films like World Trade Center and Flight 93 might feel?
See, again, it's that sort of genre of film. It feels...
World Trade Center is one of Nick Cage's best films, and it's obviously a factual film, and it's horrible to watch the middle of it because you realise how desperate they got and everything, and it's love the ending because this happened to them and they actually got saved. Well, these two got firefighters, the rest unfortunately died. But do you think that's because obviously the buildings come down at first? I'm guessing people watching that would have been like, oh, that's a bit. But again, it's factual in a way.
The thing, I think it is important to not shy away from, I can't put that in my film because I don't want to upset anyone, because I think some things have to be seen. But I think if you're at a stage where you think, I need to show this, you didn't need to show it respectfully.
Then again, another point about that is I remember watching, I think the name of the film was Flight 93.
Yeah.
I watched that as a kid. I was pretty young when I watched that. I didn't know a lot about the World Trade Center, just that a lot of people died in this big attack.
It's the other thing with it. I think if you're making a film on an event, take Titanic even.
Oh.
Titanic, I think, whatever your opinions on the film...
The film's great. I don't like the shoehorn love story. The
characters,
the two characters in the love story are great. I don't like the
whatever your opinion on the actual story and the film and like that, I would argue Titanic is the right way to make a film about a disaster. Because the film...
It's done seriously.
Yeah.
With a few comedic elements.
The idea of Jack and...
Rose.
That's the one.
Oh, God.
The idea of Jack and Rose meeting each other and doing that. You're following two characters. It gives an
emotional weight to the film.
But as far as I know, it's all fake. I think some bits are based on testimony, but it's not these two characters that are doing it.
The things that were based on truth are things like when the officers told that the women and the children go first, when the officer shot himself, the crewman.
Don't know about that.
That bit's
I know there's a lot of it that is rooted in truth, that's what I mean. But the actual whole story and the reason a lot of people watch the film isn't true. So
yeah.
with that, you can do what you like. You're not tied down to having to see what this guy did in this situation, which I think is a good way of going about it. I think Patriots Day would have been maybe not better. I think it's good, but if you'd have made up a character and just not had them, but it's interesting to see. I don't know.
They could have been an onlooker whose family was connected to that.
I
and
feel
they
like
could
if
have
you want to
followed
add
news reports,
drama
so,
to things, you then need to have completely fake drama added to it. Because it's a real event, and I think if you're going to try and make things a bit cooler to fit your film,
you want to create a story that can exist in without
wrong to me.
Yeah, I get that.
I don't know. That's just a tangent that came up when
Titanic,
we were talking about films.
Again, watching that film, then you watch documentaries of it, and you think if they had included that bit from real life, that film would have been made.
Do you
so much
hear
more
some
dire.
stuff about Titanic's?
You hear about
happened?
where they ignored a message from another ship that told them there's an iceberg in the water.
There's a lot of shit of people. Look, that film's made a lot of fake rumours.
Yeah.
Which isn't on purpose, but it's just people watch the film and then assume that's what happened. Things like they didn't see the iceberg. It wasn't a case of not seeing the iceberg. It was a case of not being able to hit the iceberg. And then people think that it cut a hole in the ship. That didn't happen. The ship wasn't penetrated, as far as I'm aware. I may not be wrong in it. It was pressure against the thing, then pop the rivets.
Yeah.
And so it was a case of instead of ripping and like tearing a hole in it, it just sort of fell
I was always
apart.
under the impression that the iceberg scraped alongside the ship, which
it didn't put a hole in the ship and then the water comes in there.
Whatever metal the ship was made of the bottom, that dented and
it
broke
put
apart.
too much pressure on it, and so it popped the rivets out, and then you had a big gaping hole. Exactly. It could all be complete bollocks. I got this off a YouTube video.
I never thought that it made holes in, because obviously, I'm sure, I mean, I'm not an expert, but I'm pretty sure hardened steel would withstand pretty well against ice.
Again, you said about the documentaries. You watched some of the stuff behind it. White Star Liners was a bit iffy.
I also watched a documentary literally not 2 days ago about H.P. Lovecraft, whose book I've got in my bag. Well, I say his book, it's a collection of his books. And I was surprised by the amount of people that I knew that I saw in the film. Because there's people talking about his life. There's Guillermo del Toro, John Carpenter, who, by the way, looks the polar opposite of how I thought he'd look in real life. I've never really searched him
Santa is brilliant.
But he looks like Curly from A Mice and Men.
Yes, he's great.
And there's a few like notable authors in horror stuff, like Caitlin Kiernan, I think her name is, and she's like a paleontologist, and she's an author of a bunch of books that I've read one. And it's just so fascinating to find out about him and how, as he grew up, you could say, oh, some of these stories are probably based on just like nightmares you had, because he was from all accounts he was a weird guy.
He's a troubled soul.
He was also a notorious racist and xenophobe. Yeah, I must say.
Well, a lot of old people.
But I don't know. Some of his stories, it's just funny to see his life reflected in his stories. Because his stories are just called Weird Tales, because that's the magazine they were published in.
What did you want to talk about, Mark Wahlberg? Why can't I say his fucking name today?
You did say Mark Wahlberg. He has starred in some great films.
He's starred in some fucking awful films as well, yeah.
Have you ever watched Mad Max?
Which one?
The film.
There's many films.
There's one film.
There's two Mel Gibson ones.
Oh,
There's
not Mad
remake.
Max. Max Payne.
Max Payne, no.
Mad Max. Max
That's
Payne
always been a film that I wanted to watch.
It's a
never been able
film
to find
based
it
off
anywhere.
a game, and it's the example of how to fuck up a game film. Resident Evil 1, although the franchise later turned to crap, Resident Evil 1 is the perfect way to do a game film, because it's not following the original story, so you're not ruining anything. But
I've always
believable in the setting that it's
The Getaway would make a good game film, because it's essentially just a gangster film anyway.
Getaway.
And Getaway Black Monday. You might know that more, because everyone seems to fucking know that
No.
more. I think something like that it was a fucking great game. I'm disappointed
I've also, thinking back to your...
But then films like that just sort of tell a film story anyway. You just play a bit of it, which I think is probably the easiest.
It's like the Telltale games, isn't it?
This is a good thing to bring up because it's topical. Saw a trailer for the Lara Croft film the other day.
Ooh.
There's many things. I don't know how I feel about it anymore.
I don't want...
I was relatively looking forward to it.
films to come out anymore.
Well, there is that.
I liked the first Angelina. There were two, weren't there? Because there was the Pandora's Box one and then the original. I liked the original, I think. But, okay, there's people outside, by the way, so if you hear them, I apologise. The Pandora's Box one, I don't remember liking. I'm sure there were two. I remember not liking
the Angelina Jolie ones are a bit iffy anyway.
They were okay.
They're campy.
They're as okay as game films they could be. They're enjoyable to watch with a bit of popcorn and like a few friends. Like
yeah.
Plus, I mean, Angelina Jolie.
You've got a fucking thing for every woman in a film.
No, I haven't. I'm just saying that there's obviously a certain amount of appeal to having that female star in a certain role.
Yeah, nice.
You could get anyone to play Tomb Raider. They picked Angelina Jolie for a certain reason.
Tits!
I didn't say that, but she's also great in the film Salt, if you've watched that.
Yeah.
That's a brilliant film.
Yes!
I don't know what's going on with you today.
Oh, I'm tired. I can't.
I'm the normal one for a change.
I'm trying to go back through my Facebook to find what I wrote about the thing, and
See, this is why I don't keep notes. It's stored all up in my head.
that's it. So, at the film, it's telling them remade sort of thing. There's a lot of shots in it that are mimicked from the game, which I think is quite cool
That's
because
cool.
you're telling that story.
I've only ever played one Tomb Raider game, so.
I don't like the actress. I
Who's
can't
the
remember
actress
who
for
she
it?
is.
Let's
I
see.
need to fast forward it because it says it at the end. Oh, I forgot the sounds on. Shh! I'm professional. Fuck you.
For fuck's sake.
So begins.
The Burning. Sorry. Stuck in my head.
I want
I
everything.
will watch that on the weekend.
Her
You can
name
get feedback about that
is-
next week.
Alicia Vikander?
Let's see. Oh, is there a picture of her? Instead of the name that you just told me.
Not
'Cause I
her
think-
face. Oh, fuck
I
no.
think I know who the actress is, but I'm not sure, so I want to see a
It's
picture before I
Alicia
make.
Vikander.
Right. I
Right,
can't match
look,
the face to
just
the name.
fuck-
for
There
it.
you go.
I think, yeah, I know who that is. It's the one who played. Have you ever watched Ex Machina?
No,
She-
yeah, I know
she
who
played
you
Ava.
mean. I would have
Played the robot.
rathered Camilla Luddington.
Camilla Luddington.
Oh, fuck, I knew I was going to screw up.
Camilla Luddington.
Camilla Luddington is the woman that motion captured the remake of Tomb
Oh,
Raider.
the new games.
And I was under the impression she was doing it.
Hmm.
And I don't know what happened with that. So I possibly should have learnt that. Oh, I've just seen she's got a baby. Could have been that.
Yeah.
But she motion capped the Lara Croft thing, and all I can find.
Also,
now
once
is-
a lot of people are in their roles as like either motion caption.
I wouldn't say she looks better, but she looks
Yeah.
like Lara Croft because she fucking is the new
Yeah.
Lara Croft. But I just think she had a better way of playing it because that's what you know the new Lara Croft as being. So I'd like to know why that didn't
It's
happen.
like if someone else played Smeagol instead of Andy Serkis. So it's just like Gollum, the more
I'm just
recognisable
not
name.
sure if I'm going to like it now.
I'd give it a chance. I
I'll watch it.
can't picture it being any better than the Angelina Jolie one.
So my worry is, I
Can't picture
heard
it being any worse.
I heard about it and thought it's going to be cool. It sounds like something different. It's got some decent names behind it.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting and not another fucking game movie. And after the
Tell you
shit of
what.
Assassin's Creed that died hard.
Oh god.
Assassin's Creed was
That
the
was
best
an
thing to talk
abysmal
about,
film.
and then nobody fucking talk about
Abysmal film
any
in the
again.
world.
Like
Oh.
that sentence didn't make
First,
any sense. I
the
said nobody ever
games-
talk about any again.
First the games ruined that franchise, then the film ruined that franchise, then the games. I think it's good again. I can't remember. I don't follow
I
them anymore.
don't care.
Everyone's
It's just-
excited for Ready Player One,
Oh god.
and I keep thinking it was a good premise, but they tried the same thing with Pixels, and fair enough, Pixels has got fucking then Adam Sandler.
Alright, I will say,
But-
have you read the book Ready Player One?
No.
It's a lot better than Pixels.
I know. I gathered that, but I'm just not sure that it's going to be pulled off the way everyone thinks it is.
I'm going to test your nerdy knowledge here.
Why?
Because I was watching a thing the other day that was talking about an anime.
Great. I'm going to fail at this because I only watch very certain, like... I only
It
watch
feels
what's
to me like it's basically an anime version of...
Is it ReZero?
I don't know. I know it's got virtual reality in it. And the idea being these people go and live... It's...
Sword Art Online?
The costs of... Sword Online, yes. I was trying to work out how to say Sao, it's sword
Right.
something. Yeah.
You've just opened up a can of worms.
Well, without going into it, I feel like...
Because
Because
in
it's...
the anime community, that one's either loved or hated with a passion.
Well, let's not go into
But the
it. What I'll
premise
say is I like the idea of it, and then found out that well, I think it might have just been a bad description of it, to be honest. But I was watching a thing and they were
yeah.
talking about Ready Player One, and they were saying that to sort of escape the shitty parts of his life, he goes into this virtual reality, and it's full of crap. And basically, it was a thing of saying like what films are coming out, and the guy that was talking about it basically said it's probably going to be a bit shit, but it would be full of fan service. And I don't
Yeah,
think
it's got
that's...
Master Chief in it from what I remember. That's
It's
the
got
only
loads
reason
of
I
shit in
remember
it. It's got video game characters. One of the major points of the fucking trailer is the fact it's got a DeLorean in it. And the guy that wrote the book has a DeLorean, which I still think's quite cool. But it's just I like the guy. I like the author. I don't.
Yeah, see, it's one of those films where I think again it's either going to do well or be disappointing.
I feel like it's going to be crap, but everyone's going to like it, and I don't think we should be trying to
Like
make
Sword Art Online.
films that is fan service, because fan service normally isn't bad. It's just giving
So
people what
if I-
they asked for, and people don't know what they want.
So now that you mentioned it, I'll explain Sword Art Online's premise.
Can we do this briefly?
Yes, very briefly.
I don't want to get into an
Guy,
anime
no,
argument.
it's just a storyline. I'm going to tell you why it's not done as well as I think it could have.
Go for
So,
it.
Guy, he was the beta tester for this big game that's coming out in VR. So when it finally gets released to the public, he goes in knowing all the skills already and knows what to do. Then turns out the game creator, this is where the plot gets a bit weird. The game's creator decided that he built in this feature where I think after a certain amount of hours it's been released, he locks it off. They can't log out, and they have to beat all the bosses to get out and wake up. And if they die in that world,
Why the fuck?
the
would you
VR the VR they're wearing will fry their brains essentially.
Yeah, that's the bit I'd heard.
So the premise is good because it can carry on the story for however long you want. You know, you can make however many bosses you want to this bloody tower system. But it focuses, and I'm gonna, cause my girlfriend loves this one, so I'm gonna get flack if she ever listens to this. I think it focuses way too much on romance because he ends up meeting this girl, and they end up liking each other.
I've decided this is
VR.
going to be soundtrack to anime conversations.
No, that's it. That's all I'm saying.
Oh,
I
right,
think it
good.
focuses far too much on romance as opposed to the actual. You're in a VR world where it's all these RPG tropes and you're leveling up and beating bosses. Yeah.
You wish it was more about the game.
No, I wish it was more about the story itself rather than because it's sort of you've got the start of it, then the big romancy part, then he kills the creator and then he wakes up. There's not a whole lot of the story in there, which I think is why a lot of people don't like it. Which again, Can of Worms is now firmly sealed. I'm not talking about that anymore.
Aces. Well, do you have anything else to bring up with watching films?
I think I'm good, apart from I'm going to go home and watch The Burning. I'm going to say that as many times as I can in that particular voice.
I desperately want you to talk about this next week.
I will.
I'm going to make note of it now
Do
so
it.
I don't forget.
I'm going to.
Because I'm really looking forward to it.
There's a few notable horror films on Netflix I can mention. There's Babysitter, and there's two versions of a Babysitter film.
That's the one with What's-Her-Face
The
in.
Cult.
What's the...
She's in Scream Queens. Scream Queens, which is also a great show.
Isn't it Bella Thorne? No, that's the weird one, isn't it? Who am I thinking of? She was in American Horror Story.
Yes.
Yes.
I think so.
Is that any good?
Babysitter.
Yeah.
Again, it's a solid, like, sort of horror-y comedy type film.
I wanted to watch it and then just sort of didn't.
It's a film that's fun to just watch.
Yeah.
You have to particularly pay too much attention or anything. But there's also another Babysitter film, which is far more darker and far more depressing, where these parents leave. I've only watched a bit of it.
Watch.
But the parents leave the kids with the babysitter, and then she turns out to be this really horrible person. And are we getting any more? Oh no! I've just remembered the god awful M. Night Shyamalan film I watched the other day.
Oh god, which one? Can I guess? Right, is it The Visit?
Yeah, it's so bad because you see the twist coming from a mile away.
Oh god. Would you like to get in the oven?
That's the one. He shoves the nappy in the face.
I'd say no spoilers, but just watch the fucking film.
Yeah.
And...
Oh, I haven't actually mentioned the twist, but it's alright, you'll see it coming from the start of the film anyway.
Oh god.
It's actually a pretty good film up until they make this terrible twist to it.
Mm-hmm.
Which they obviously is M. Night Shyamalan, so he's notorious for it. Anyway, I'll end on that because that is
It's going to be The
hilarious.
Visit or The Village.
The Village is good.
I was going to argue The Village because I thought I actually quite like the twist of The Village.
I quite like the film as a whole. It's an
Well,
interesting
yeah,
film.
but everyone slags it off, and I think it's
It's off
not the best, but it's not awful. I mean,
It's not a
okay.
terrible film by any means, no.
Did you just check a watch that you're not wearing?
No, I checked if I got blood on my...
No, you sort of did that, and I was like, I'm going to call you up. So, we've roughly got around about 20 minutes left, which is
Famous
nice.
left, which is no.
But I'd like to summarise the Lost pilot, shall we now call it? Because it's not lost, but it's not going to work.
We lost pilot. We got one.
The second pilot we
did film a
recorded,
second
which
one
we're not
with the
doing
Star
anything
Wars
with
bit
because
in
it's
it.
fucking
It was
awful.
hilarious. The Star Wars bit in that was hilarious.
Yeah. Well, the majority of that podcast
Just chop it
was
up and release it as
talking about what were we talking about? Writing.
Yes,
and
we
things
were.
like that. So without just completely re-going over that.
Oh, God.
It went on a little bit, and that's part of the reason that one's not getting released. But we touched on that. We're both media students.
Yeah.
We both, I think, would like to go into writing in some form. Or making shit.
Yeah.
Of which writing is a
Constructing
part.
worlds and narratives and characters and whatnot.
I need my notes up again because I've already gone blank on what I was actually trying to segue this into. But, So
we just peaked massively then.
We did, massively. As we keep doing.
Fine.
I want to briefly touch. How do you start? So you decide, you sort of sat there one day and you're a little bit bored. You maybe don't want to start or continue anything that you've got ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
You just want to get something out quick. Just clear your head a bit.
How do I start doing it?
Yeah. Or do you do that until...
Yeah,
Good,
this is
because I'm not
really
completely weird then.
I mainly do it in the summer. Because
I like so you can go out places and...
No.
Right. Oh.
No.
Well, I've discovered that I quite like going somewhere and writing.
I love
It's
going
quite
to
nice.
old places and looking at buildings and thinking, how can I reconstruct that in a world and describe it?
I just like being outside.
But I like
discovered
writing.
it's a lot nicer to be in public and start writing something
It's
than
the
being
same
sat at home.
sort of vein.
I
I like having, say, like a fan, because obviously British summers are terrible. They're humid with no breeze.
Yeah.
So I like to have all my windows open, curtains open, and a fan on, and my room's just got this really lovely breeze. And I like writing with just a t-shirt on and being really comfortable, as opposed to
bollocks hanging out.
Yeah. No, you just wrote a lovely little story. No, I just like writing in the most comfortable way I can, instead of
with your
in the
bollocks
middle
hanging
of
out.
humid heat where I'm sweating, or
Yeah.
in the middle of cold where it's the heating's either making me too hot or too cold. Or I never tried writing in public.
Not
Because I
necessarily
don't want to be
public.
that pretentious
Basically,
twat
I've
that
got.
sits on their laptop typing and a cup of coffee.
I use my phone. Basically, I've got an app on my phone which is just where I write and you get access to it. Well, that
Wow.
was fucking shit, wasn't it? What happened to that? Shake it up and do it again. I'm not leaving that. If you're going to ASMR the shit out of it, you've got to ASMR the shit out of it. That was
Pathetic.
it's the equivalent of a wet fart. Fucking awful. Yeah, I use an app called Celtex, which you can also get online.
You've talked about this app before.
I like this app, it's good.
Wait a minute, that was the app that you did the
Used
script
last
on,
year,
was it?
yeah. It's a good app, it's a script writing thing.
Yeah.
I tend to just sniff randomly. I tend to plan things first.
Yeah.
And so I've got, well, at the moment I don't, but I'll use the short film because you're going to end up seeing that at some point.
Oh, great.
So we've got here, actually that's a bad example because I haven't got any of the
I
plan.
want to make a horror short film, but there's no way I can do it without any budget or props or people.
Well, this is the closest thing I've got at the moment to a full script. So you can see I've got a brief bit of what I wanted to write. I've got my transitions on this side. And it is really easy. This isn't sponsored. We're far too small for that. However, if you do want to sponsor us, I will pimp the shit out of you. Just
Pimp my
sell out
podcast.
right here. Pimp my podcast.
Yeah,
Brought
there's
to
a
you
spin-off
by
podcast
whatever
idea
the fuck
right
this
there.
is. But yeah, it's a really good app. It's called Celtex. You spell it CELTX.
Mm-hmm.
I'd recommend if you write, use it because it like writing scripts. You can just write text.
See, when
on it. But I used to use my memos on my phone, which you didn't fucking know you had.
No, I had the phone for 3 years and only just found out how to make notes.
It
There's
is
a difference.
literally on my phone. It is the first app that's there.
I've
is my
never
notes
been
page.
able to find out how to make notes on this fucking phone because it's a piece of. Right, let's just not talk about the phone.
Yeah, I used to write stuff down on my. I started off with a notepad, but the problem with that is if I get an idea, I don't have my notepad because I'm normally out in public when I get an idea. So I then start writing it down on my phone. Then I've got loads of notes just sort of scattered around the place and didn't really have anything for it. So then I started the Celtics thing, and I've got a couple of projects that are open that are just things that I contribute to. So I wrote down my general idea of what I want, and I've got a section underneath where I just random ideas I just throw in. After a while, when I sort of think I've got a relatively good basis. So again, one of the things that we mentioned in the pilot was the fact I'm writing a sitcom, which is never going to have anything done with it.
Right.
Currently, I just throw random ideas at it. I've got episodes that I want to write that I've got fully fleshed out, and then I know where I want them to sit within the series. So then I've got blank episodes that I don't have planned out yet. I've just got loads of ideas in just this pool of random crap that if I think, fuck it, I like that idea, that will fit, then I just write that in. And if it then doesn't fit, you take it back out. And it's a really good way of writing what you want. Because I think a lot of the things that people go wrong with is they try and... I'm speaking like I know what the fuck I'm talking about. I've never made anything good. But...
You made a pretty good documentary.
I made a fucking brilliant music video. We
Wow, let's not talk
not
about
going
that.
into that. We
Ooh.
oh god, what was I talking about?
We talk about writing and the fact that you had ideas that you were on your phone and
Yeah, when you film write, you get carried away with writing the script, and you don't really have an idea. So what I choose to do is you have. It sounds basic, but you do tend to forget about it. I've forgot about it. I've helped people that have forgotten about it. So you start off, you've got sort of your actual problem, which seems to be the main thing that you have. If you've got, oh, what if this happens? So the first thing you tend to come up with is sort of the problem. You then want to sort of establish what characters are in that problem. So once you've gone, right, so it's going to be me and Ryan, and we're going to be, we've got 2 minutes before the end of the world and a meteor. This is how I do it. So a meteor's going to hit the world. I'm going to write this story right now. It's going to be fucking amazing. Me and you, there's a meteor going to hit.
You are talking about the disaster movie currently, but okay, go ahead.
Well, fuck it. So we're going to do that, and it's a case of, right, so I've got me and Ryan and this meteor. So how do we find out about the meteor? Well, fuck that. That's not important yet. We've got me and Ryan. May have just skipped a step in this own explanation there. So I'll then, with that, I'll write character profiles of what me and you are like. And it'll just be... Normally I get an idea and I'll get a bit of dialogue because I'll just start going through it in my head. And it's because of how I think these two characters would interact in that thing. So from that little bit of dialogue, I've then got a bit more of their personality. So once you've got that, you need to know your characters before you write anything to do with it. Because if you know your characters properly, then you just... It's easier to write because everything just fits together. You know what characters will be in what scene because you know how they'd react to it. Yeah. A lot of my stuff tends to be rooted in comedy.
Yeah, I tend to like... So I like dark fantasy, I like fantasy, horror, cyberpunk, sci-fi stuff. If I want to... So typically I try to write narrative stories and I try and write like action sequences to certain narrative stories. It's going to get close to the recorder. And what I'll do first, so I'll come up with a setting. So say I wanted a Gothic, Victorian type setting. It's like 19... whatever. not Gothic Victorian, because that's not obviously not. But so say I wanted a Gothic setting. I would then just make a list of characters that I thought... And if I can't sketch that well, but I'll sketch out basic little shapes of clothes or something that I want them to look like, or in my mind how I'm envisioning them. So I'll make characters without actually knowing what the story is or how, if any of these characters are even going to be in the story. And I'll try and come up with at least 3 traits for each. And I'll try and come up with, if I've got a pair, I'll try and make at least one of those traits conflict with each other. So if I do put them in, I can put 2 of them in and say, right, you're at least going to have something to talk about in this story. And I try and mix and match, and I try different things, and then it doesn't work, and I hate myself, and then I don't do anything.
See, I've got the problem of... I say a lot of my stuff is sort of rooted in comedy. Whether or not it's like, if I was writing a horror film, I'd still have the arsey character that is sort of the comic relief.
The sassy one.
I find myself sort of having too many comic relief characters.
Have you made Star Wars Episode 1 with nothing but Jar Jars, I'm guessing?
I have. Because I love Star Wars, mate.
And of course I love Cosmic Horror, which is Lovecraftian again. And I want to make a short film that's rooted in that. And I've got a perfect idea for one shot.
So I will say...
And nothing else for the rest.
I've never done it with you yet. Write it down, though.
I know.
Right, now this is the thing. I wrote a full scene. It's like an interrogation scene with an arsehole, and I still love that scene, and I still desperately want to use it for something. So I wrote down the scene, and I wrote down the dialogue within the scene, and the jokes that I now fucking hate because I've read them so many times, but I'm going to trust that they're still kind of ish funny. I've got that scene, and I had nowhere for it to actually fit. And so I've just got a random scene. But if I ever do get anywhere it's going to fit, that fucker's going in.
See,
and then come straight back out so it won't be funny anymore.
And it can be based in college, but it can be based in any school, any workplace, or anything. And it's essentially, it's like 1 or 2 characters who find out that their school system or their system of work is essentially a cult-based one. And
in a world.
Don't make the burning. And it's essentially they're breeding these people to carry on without realising it, the future of this cultish type society.
Sure this isn't the Simpsons episode?
Is there a Simpsons episode like this?
I'm sure that I think that's Soylent Green.
Well, the Simpsons have covered fucking everything, so how am I supposed to... It's like that fucking South Park episode, Simpsons did it. Don't be general disarray. But it's like they're raising everyone up to carry on this cultish type society without realising, and at the end they find out, and in general Lovecraftian stuff, they end up going insane. And I want there to be a monster type thing in there somewhere. And I've got a perfect shot for one, and it's in this particular hallway with a particular light and a shot type. And it's
Is it the silent party?
It will be
in
this kind of light, but with a blue filter on it, like a blue screen thing.
I feel like this light is more interesting than
This light has been a
both
good friend
of us.
for us.
Been in every podcast, all 2 of them. So I'm writing the sitcom, which is also the 2 other projects that I haven't properly started writing yet, which some of my friends know about. Is
I'm not your friend. So.
No, you're not. Fuck you.
Oh.
Why the fuck are you even here?
Don't know.
We haven't swore enough in this podcast, so I've decided I'm just going to swear at you a
Fuck
bit.
you.
I think we swore like 4 times.
Yeah.
It's a new record. But yeah. So I've written sort of 2 musically style things. It's not necessarily. They're not necessarily musicals.
Okay.
It's more music based because I've got a real thing. All right, I'm going into that in a minute. What I will say is the other day I got a message off one of my friends saying, "Do you know Jamie T?"
You've talked about him before.
One of his albums is Panic Prevention. It's an album
You've told me
I
this.
adore, but I've never written it. I've never looked at it thinking this needs to be made into a film.
Yeah.
I think it was Saturday. One of my friends sent me a message just saying Jamie T film with a question mark, and I'm going. I didn't know if that was you saying there is a film or whatever. And start talking about you should write a film for this, which was a joke. Sort of, we just do it randomly. But I started thinking about it. I was like, I don't know, it could be done. And I was sort of like, I don't know, it could be done.
I've got that with a particular Runaway song.
Well, write it.
Ah.
I'm not going to read it, obviously.
Yeah.
This was me. I went out, I listened to the album, which is always a good start if you're writing anything from an album, which I would recommend because it's really good to do.
Well, that'd be the first step, yeah.
Well, you've already got... No, but I mean, writing from an album, you've already got a basis of what you want. You've already got what mood it's going to be because of the songs. You've already got the sort of overall narrative. Well, for the albums that I've writing... fuck's sake. You've already got the sort of overall narrative. This one doesn't, as such. Mm-hmm. And the idea that they'd come up with was sort of various different stories that they need to come together, which I was sort of thinking, yeah, I'll do that. I like the idea. The problem is I then didn't have that idea when I was walking around. And so the idea I came up with was more of sort of like a more sort of gritty, not gangster film, but it was a bit more, it was your typical, English, British film. Yeah. English, British film, on the brain.
English indie films are the
This was sort of
best
me,
and the
just,
worst.
I had minor notes of sort of what I wanted to jump to, and this was the narrative of me just jumping through. So we've got that. All of that by the the SpongeBob thing at the end. That's me writing a film, fully fleshed out, I may say. I had characters, I know exactly how it ends, I know where each song I want to come into, and that was just... I went out, listened to an album, wrote down a few things. I think I wrote down like 4 things and went through that. Well, bear with me.
No, I'll tell my thing while you're searching. I have this thing where I will come up with a great idea, but I'll always go in my head, oh, that'll never happen, or like, no one's going to want to see this, so there's no point in writing it down.
There is that, but this is my thing. I thoroughly enjoyed writing that. Because it was just something that... I went out, listened to an album, which I think I was going to the shops. Went up the shops, had this album on, so I already had it in my head of what I wanted to do. I'm then in the mood. I'd sort of come up with random ideas, and some ideas didn't work. So I'd sort of have, well, I could do this or I could do this. Once, and I was writing it to somebody. You saw that was messages, not just to myself, which I'd really recommend. Because I was doing that, and it was a case of, I think there's a bit in there they're going, oh, cool, like, what happens then? And it's a case of, they'd written something, and it wasn't leading in the slightest, but it completely changed my idea of going from where I was going to go to where I had. There's a bit in there as well when I was saying that's all I've got, and then immediately follow up with, oh no, wait, fuck, I've got loads more, because I've just come into my head and I know exactly how I want to do this now. I've now written a full film, basically, without narrative or anything.
You could do that for your short film that's coming up in college.
I could, but I'm never going to make it.
But you need the actors.
I also need the police.
You can get police outfits online and get people to dress up.
Ooh, you would know.
Yes, I would know, because I've been on Amazon before.
You kinky bastard.
Oh, I know.
No, but yeah, what I'd like to just say, because I got a bit sidetracked with that. If you're trying to write, and you're listening to this for some reason, obviously set out what you need to do. You need to know your characters. You need to know what you're going to do. It's obvious stuff, but write it down just don't leave it in your head, because then things get jumbled. If you write it down, don't delete stuff either.
I've got like whole worlds in my head.
Yeah, same. So don't delete anything until you're writing. And even then, don't delete it, because it could be useful for another
There's
character.
actually a great site I was using, and I can't remember what it's called now.
Helpful. Whilst you Google, do that. The other thing...
It's like Booksy or something like that, and it's just you make an amateur story and you can send it out, and other people who are doing sites.
Oh my god, I've always wanted that.
And it's other people who are doing them can rate it and review it, and I think you can enter competitions using it and stuff.
Fuck,
Can't
I've
remember
always
the name of
wanted
the
something
website.
like that. Look it up.
Oh, it's so annoying. I'll look at when I get home. And
No, do it now on your phone. I need to know this.
I think keep talking.
There's like various websites, like you've got Wattpad and shit like that, which I've always... I joined Wattpad and left it several times. Because I love the idea of it, of being this place where everyone can go and write stories, but people don't go and write stories. People go and they write fiction about fucking Twilight, and it becomes
or anime.
Massive fucking best-selling porn books that don't make any fucking sense. There's another bloody 50 Shades film coming out.
Yeah.
I fucking hate 50 Shades of Grey, man. It's the most... And the worst part is, it's got potential.
Oh, I was right, it's Booksy.
Sweet.
And look, there's people, featured reads, people just writing stories.
Talk about Booksy, because it sounds interesting. I'm just going to rant about 50 Shades of Grey otherwise. It's
a website, and I am on it. I haven't actually written anything on it yet. I think I started constructing a story, haven't published or anything. And literally, so you've got settings there, and you can search for writers, tags, or search content. So I guess if you search some keyword... books that are similar might come up, and you've got stuff like, so it's been a bit updated since I last went out apparently, and there's
the writing's going well then,
which appear to be different publishing houses, which is quite interesting. I'll have a look at that when.
So is it an amateurs thing, or is it just for ideas?
It's an amateurs thing. It's completely amateur orientated, because I'll show you.
So you're spelling that B-double-O, book S-Y, yeah?
S-I-E.
S-I-E?
Yeah.
I've just got
So you've got
S-Y.
Contests, members...
Oh, I'm on a health
guide.
And beauty thing.
God. Contests, members, help guide. And if I go into the contest section, so you got Booksy 2017 to 2018 Young Writer Short Story Contest, Booksy 2017 to 2018 Short Story Contest. Now, these do cost to enter.
Ryan, can't find it.
I'll send you the link. But they're very... So
Tell me how to spell it.
Booksy Spring 2017 Flash Fiction Contest. And it's currently contest is closed. Look for other great contests. But, so if I go to the top now, I don't think you can actually search for ones that are open, but you can just learn more on them. Oh, here we go. Booksy Fall 2016 Short Story Contest. That was the deadline was November. The winner got a £200 cash and a featured writing spot.
Booksy?
Yeah.
As in book C?
Book S-I-E.
Fuck's sake!
You moron.
I've got a fucking...
So yeah, I think the only one that you can enter so far, or currently...
S-I-E.
Yes.
Bookie.
So,
no. Booksy.
How are you this intelligent and this dumb at the same time?
Leave me.
If you can't search something up, maybe writing isn't in your forte. But look, anyway,
Not my fault.
While you keep searching, I'm going to read about things.
Booksy. S-I-E.
Yes.
B-O-O-K-S-I-E.
Yes.
There you go. If you want to look it up, it's Booksy. Book S-I-E. Not Y, that's a health and beauty thing. Not E-Y. That's some fucking library thing. No,
right,
Book
so the
C
they have
S-I-E.
Our Booksy 2017 to 2018 short story contest. The cost would be $5.95 entry, and the grand prize is £600 cash, 1 free month of boosts for their winning story, and a gold contest badge. Runner-ups get 150 cash, 1 week of boosts, and I'm guessing these boosts things are things that help you get your stories out there into the website. And I've found multiple websites that you could do this on, by the way. Not just
Fuck's sake, I've been trying to find them for years.
I found loads.
You get shit like that, but it's just full of fan fiction.
And you get read. This one's full of fan fiction as well. People write stories based on other worlds, but there is a lot.
I don't mind that.
I've read a few good.
Barry and Steve
are
so sexy, so I want them to do a sex thing together. Thong of Thongs.
So there you go. Look, He That Knocketh. It's by Brandon Everett. Read it if you want. I haven't read it yet. It's a short story, mystery and crime. It was published on the 1st of January. It has 107 reads.
See, some of them sound interesting.
So yeah, but that's the thing. You have to just find whatever you like, and if you read it and you're good, I guess.
I will say this seems a damn sight better than fucking Wattpad.
Yeah.
Do I even have Wattpad on my phone anymore?
The word friend can mean many things. book, fantasy, reads 6, January 25th. So obviously it's not that popular just yet, but it sounds quite cool. It's got love, fantasy, horror, romance in it.
I've got all my stuff in folders on my phone. I've got one folder called Apps and one folder called Apps 2, The Happening.
I've just got...
That amused me too much.
I've got shit I care about, shit I don't care about.
That's better organisation.
And this is the genres, so you'll see that whilst it does have erotic stuff, like gay and lesbian, it also has action and adventure, children, commercial, fiction, editorial and opinion, fan fiction, fantasy, flash fiction, gay and lesbian, health and fitness, historical fiction, horror, humour, jokes,
health and fitness
literary
book?
fiction, memoir, mystery and crime. And I could go on that list forever, but there's...
Shall we go down the Wattpad category?
Let's not, because there's
Action,
Twilight
adventure,
and not Twilight.
anime, billionaire, chicklit,
That's because it's literally for fan fiction, and billionaire is
classics,
one thing that women come for.
creepypasta, fan fiction. That's literally its own category. Fantasy, general fiction, historical fiction, horror, humour, imagines. Okay. LGBT plus, mystery and thriller, new adult, supposed to what?
That seems like a very rundown version of the website. I was just
Non-fiction, paranormal, poetry, random.
See, it doesn't.
Random is a
fall into
genre
the-
on this film. Romance, sci-fi, short story, spiritual, teen fiction, urban, vampire, werewolf.
The Burning.
I just don't like Wattpad. No, I don't mind Wattpad. I love the idea of Wattpad. I don't like people on Wattpad.
On the platform.
So if you've gone on Wattpad, then sorry.
There is a specific fanfiction site
like
that's
you.
made for... You can...
Yeah, it's called fanfiction.
No, it's called Archive of Our Own.
Okay, I thought it was called fanfiction.org.
There's also one called
That's
fanfiction.
Booksy. Booksie. I'm going to look it up and I'm going to do a bit of research on Booksy. SIE. Because I think it sounds good.
Anyway, should we wrap up? Because I think we've been here quite long now.
Well, what I was going to say is I'd like to focus a lot on music in films. But then we got sidetracked by Booksy. SIE.
Save it for the next one.
Well, I don't think it's that worth bringing up. Where the fuck is my app store gone?
Oh, God.
Oh, found it. That's Booksy. We're recommending Booksy.
K-S-I-E.
SIE. Doesn't have an app. Fucking Booksy does. So if you want your health and beauty, fuck off and die. Oh, fanfiction.net's on here. Yeah, let's wrap it.
Okay.
So next week you're going to talk about The Happening. No, not The Happening. I was thinking about
You
my
ruined
apps.
it. I'm going to talk about The Burning.
The Burning.
And I will rewatch The Babysitter and tell you a bit more about that.
Door. You're going to rewatch The Babysitter. I may watch The Babysitter. Probably won't. But you're going to talk about The Burning. Did you watch your Action Man films?
No.
Why?
Because I was too busy doing actual good stuff. No offence, but they're not high on my list of priorities.
At some point I'd like to get guests.
Yeah, but
I'd like to actually have something to talk about with the guests. So I'm thinking, rather than just have somebody in here talking, adding to the conversation, maybe do a bit more like an interview. So it's not so much asking them questions, but it's sort of, that'll be part of it, and then they can pitch into stuff that we want to talk about. If anyone watches these, let us know if you think that would be a decent idea, or if you would just like somebody else here to shout and talk about films that they like.
Yeah.
I'd like to have someone that's into anime, but then I'm really not. So
See,
I feel like it'd be an interesting
I feel
conversation.
like there's a few shows in that category that you would like, but I don't think you'd give them a try because inherently they have all the stuff that Japan has that's all weird.
Boobs, upskirts, too long.
Yeah. See, there's one where
Subtitles.
there's one with the cafe where the workers have to act a certain personality,
I think,
and that's a really cool idea.
Yeah,
But it's full of other stuff.
I will say, I used to like massively be into not fan fiction. I used to massively be into creepypastas and things like that. I don't know why I grew out of it. But also, there's some really interesting fan fiction there.
There is. I think if it wasn't so blown out proportion, Slender would have been a great.
Oh, that film. Let's not go into it.
Right, can we just end it?
Because I'm not going to rant for 20 minutes about the fucking film that should never been made in the first place. And if you are going to make it, at least make it fucking good. There's so much you could write about that.
It's the end of it.
Fucking slender, static prick.
We'll see.
You don't know how to turn the recorder
I
off.
do, it's somewhere around here.
Because it's a fucking pointless film.
God.
Shouldn't be made.